to continue this important dialogue by bringing together, as the MC of the occasion said, we brought together the duty bearers, organizations of persons with disabilities, and all the relevant stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, as was said, the Gambia has taken a significant step to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. We have ratified both the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and most recently, the African Union Protocol on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. But importantly, the government of this country have enacted the Persons with Disabilities Act of 2021 and also established the National Advisory Council for Persons with Disabilities. These are really, we must say, despite the challenges that we'll talk about, but I think these are commendable milestones, and I think we should maybe clap for the country. Despite these progressive measures, however, persons with disabilities in our country continue to face a lot of challenges. Again, discrimination, stigma, exclusion, and barriers to accessing education, healthcare, transportation, employment, and participation in public life. The implementation of the Act has been relatively slow, and many of its promises still remain to be fully realized. And it is for this reason that the National Human Rights Commission considers that this forum is not only timely, but also necessary. It is a platform, this two-day forum will be a platform to reflect on the progress made, identify the persistent challenges, but most importantly, to strategize collectively on accelerating the enforcement and implementation of the Persons with Disability Act 2021. We must therefore remember, and we should always remember, that the rights of persons with disabilities are not favors, but entitlements guaranteed under our laws and international commitments. Ensuring inclusion and equal participation is not only a legal and moral duty, it is also essential to our national social and economic development. So as we deliberate over the next 2 days, I urge all of us to focus on concrete and actionable measures that will make a real difference in the lives of persons with disabilities, but also importantly including children with disabilities, women, and other vulnerable groups within our communities. I therefore take this opportunity again to thank UNICEF and UNFPA for their continued partnership and support to the National Human Rights Commission in advancing disability rights. I also acknowledge the commitment of the government of the Gambia and the invaluable role of the Gambia Federation of the Disabled and all organizations of persons with disabilities. With those welcoming remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome you to this fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much for listening.
Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Madam Fatou Kinte, respected senior officials of government here present, Mr. Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Emmanuel Diouf, dear commissioners and commission staff, members of the diplomatic community, dear UN country team, particularly my dear friend and colleague, Madame Rose Sarr, the representative of UNFPA, representative from organization of persons with disabilities, members of civil society organization, the media, all protocol duly and respectfully observed. It is a great pleasure for me to stand before you today at the opening of this two-day National Disability Forum organized under the United Nations Global Disability Fund. This initiative, jointly implemented by UNFPA and UNICEF, lays the groundwork for a more inclusive, equitable, and empowered Gambia. I acknowledge and appreciate the collaboration with the National Human Rights Commission, whose mandate demands it advocates for the rights of persons with disabilities. The Republic of the Gambia is party to numerous international human rights instruments that protect the rights of persons with disabilities. Key amongst them is the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which was domesticated and localized through the National Disability Act of 2021. Despite this, persons with disability continue to face countless barriers, whether stigmatization or reduced access to health, to service, or even employment opportunities. These include also inability to access education, health services, but also, furthermore, vulnerable groups such as women and children with disabilities face also intersectional barriers. This is why our response must be comprehensive. The inclusion and rights of persons with disabilities in all aspects of society is not optional. It is fundamental, and it must be pursued through intersectional lens. Esteemed participant, the Gambia, in partnership with civil society and with the support of the United Nations, has taken significant steps to promote and protect the rights of persons with disabilities. This includes the establishment of the National Advisory Council on Persons with Disabilities, which serves as a key institutional mechanism to guide and monitor the implementation of disability rights at the national level. This legislative and institutional development, alongside the Gambia's commitment under the Sustainable Development Goals and its obligation to the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, provide a robust and legal and policy framework for the realization of the rights of persons with disabilities. Together, they form a comprehensive foundation for advancing equality, inclusion, non-discrimination, which are questions that are still pending, but also that offers positive opportunities, but also for ensuring that no one is left behind in pursuit of sustainable development. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations reaffirms its continued commitment towards supporting the protection and promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities in the Gambia. We are committed to ensuring that persons with disabilities are supported to become drivers of social change, architects of innovation, and advocates of justice, peace, stability, equality, and development. To all our partners present, from Organization of Persons with Disabilities, we pledge our continued and present support. Your leadership, creativity, resilience are at the heart of this movement. Every participant here has a role to play. To the government official and policy makers here present, but also listening to us, let us engage and integrate the insights and recommendations from this forum into national strategy. Now is time for action and also for sustainable development, so no one is left behind. To the diplomatic community, let us align our programs and resources to support more disability-centered policy, but also the activities that include everyone. So let us take out this opportunity to break the barriers, transform norms, and empower all persons with disability to lead at every level of society so they can learn, lead, decide, and thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much once again. I now would like to call on His Worship, Mohammed Kurubali, President of the Gambia Federation of the Disabled, to deliver a statement. Your Worship, you are welcome.
May I use this opportunity to recognize the presence of the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, my dear sister Fatou Kinte, recognizing the presence of the UN Residence Coordinator, Mr. Carl Frederick Paul, and his staff, also recognizing the presence of the Chairman of National Human Rights Commission, my friend Mr. Emmanuel Jouve, and your able staff and commissioners. Also recognizing the presence of different representatives from the government, recognizing the presence of my fellow persons with disabilities from different organizations of persons, different organizations of persons with disabilities, the media, personal assistance, and other protocols duly observed. Today marks another significant moment in the history of persons with disabilities, in that there is what we call National Forum on Disability, which team is advancing the rights of persons with disabilities. Persons with disabilities are human beings that are expected to be treated on equal basis with others. Persons with disabilities must coexist and must be included in the community. So since these are the realities, it is indisputable that persons with disabilities have principles as enshrined in Article 3 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, as well as Section 4 of Persons with Disabilities Act 2021, some of which include respect for diversity, individual autonomy, including freedom to make a choice and independence, non-discrimination, accessibility, full and effective participation and inclusion of persons with disabilities in all sectors, equality of opportunities, respect for difference and acceptance of persons with disabilities as part of humanity and human diversity, equality between men and women, respect for the evolving capacities of children, including respecting the rights of children with disabilities in order to preserve their identities. These principles are expected to be upheld by all authorities without distinction of any kind. Remember that in light of these principles, the Gambia is a signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, wherein its preamble cautiously cautions that integrating disability issues in all sectors is indeed a relevant strategy for sustainable development. This is, of course, in line with the principles of a Sustainable Development Goals Agenda of 2030, and that if the Gambia really wants to achieve Sustainable Development Goals Agenda of 2030, it must ensure that disability issues are integrated in all sectors. And of course, I would like to draw the attention of this gathering to the first paragraph of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which states that recalling the principles proclaimed in the Charter of the United Nations, which recognize the inherent dignity, the worth, the equal, and the inalienable rights of the human family as foundation for justice, freedom, and peace in the world. And the second paragraph states that recalling or recognizing that the United Nations in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenants on Human Rights has agreed and proclaimed that everyone is entitled to the fundamental rights and freedoms set forth therein without distinction in any kind. And the third paragraph states that reaffirming the universality, the indivisibility, the interdependence, and the interrelatedness of the fundamental rights and freedoms of persons with disabilities, with a need to guarantee those rights without discrimination in any kind. So this actually cautions stakeholders as duty bearers to ensure that persons with disabilities' rights matters, and of course, persons with disabilities must be respected on equal basis with others. In conclusion, since the Gambia enacted Persons with Disabilities Act 2021, which is indeed a domesticated legislation, Section 6 of the said act calls upon the Gambia government, non-governmental organizations, parastatals, individuals, and other authorities to ensure full and effective implementation and realization of all the fundamental rights set forth therein. And I always quote Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states, all human beings are born free and equal in rights and dignity and must act conscientiously towards each other in the spirit of brotherhood. Persons with disabilities are your brothers, your sisters, your mothers and fathers, whose rights must always be taken into account. In conclusion, I would like to quote the National Pledge as found in the social studies textbooks of the primary school. I learned this when I was in grade 4 and I love it. And it states, I quote, "It is the combination of government and people working together in unison and harmony that will lead us to achieve the progress that we all desire. We must stand together as one people and move forward as one nation. For if we insist in pursuing our personal goals without keeping our collective objectives and responsibilities in mind, then indeed we shall be divided, and divided we shall fall. I therefore make a clarion call to all the duty bearers, hearing stakeholders, to ensure that persons with disabilities are empowered and are not discriminated against. Instead, give a very, very, very excellent treatment. I wish us all a very 2 days and successful deliberation. Thank you.
Is very central in terms of ensuring that the rights of persons with disabilities are respected, protected, and guaranteed. Before I call on the final speaker, I would just like to remind everybody here that this national forum is being jointly organized with the UNICEF, UNFPA, and the Gambia Federation of the Disabled. And we are very much happy for the collaboration and partnership. Without wasting much time anymore, I just want to call on the Honorable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Madam Fatou Kinte, to deliver the keynote address and the opening statement.
Thank you very much, the chairperson. I want to thank His Worship Mohammed Kulbali for those very powerful statements, for that very powerful statement in which I know we're all working hard, all of us in this conference room. But in his statement, he has once again reminded us of our responsibilities in working with people with disabilities. And I want to assure you, once again, that the work we are doing will continue doing that, of course, in partnership with your organizations. Once again, thank you very much for the statement. The chairperson of this occasion, the chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Emmanuel Diouf, and staff, permanent secretaries, and government officials here present, Mr. Carl Frederick Paul, Union Resident Coordinator, my brother and friend, UNFPA representative to the Gambia, Madam Broussard, another friend and sister, all UN staff here present, Your Worship, Mohammed Kulbali, the chairperson of the National Advisory Council on Persons with Disabilities, which the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare proudly established with funding for UNFPA in November 3 years ago. Other partners here present, our friends and partners and delegates from the organizations with people with disabilities, the media, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. I am truly honored to have this opportunity to deliver the keynote address at the opening of this very important meeting and forum under the theme, quote unquote, advancing the rights of persons with disabilities in the Gambia. The chairperson, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare has a long-standing relationship with the Gambia Federation of the Disabled, which serves as the umbrella body of all forms of disability in the country, as well as with non-government organizations, civil society organizations, and the National Advisory Council on Persons with Disabilities. This collaboration ensures that the rights and protection of persons with disabilities are promoted and upheld. The government of the Gambia, through the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, is committed to effectively promoting the rights, participation, empowerment, and the inclusion of persons with disabilities in all sectors of development. This remains a national priority, as meaningful development cannot occur without inclusion across the board. The Gambia has taken strong steps to guarantee the equal rights and dignity of persons with disabilities through the ratification of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its domestication through the Persons with Disabilities Act. However, in practice, widespread and deep-rooted inequalities do exist, cutting across sex, ethnicity, age, and geographical location. These inequalities deny services and limit opportunities for persons with disabilities, particularly women, children, and adolescents. Therefore, let us focus on the abilities rather than the limitations of individuals. Societal perceptions are often shaped by stigma, discrimination, and traditional beliefs about disability, which constitute significant barriers to full and equal participation in society and development. It is important to note that disability is part of human condition. All of us here or will become disabled to some degree during our lives, especially at old age. The chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, the National Advisory Council for Persons with Disabilities has been established to coordinate and monitor the implementation of the Persons with Disabilities Act and the CRPD in the Gambia. It has also addressed cross-cutting vulnerabilities by strengthening networks of women-led organizations of persons with disabilities, ensuring that the specific needs of women and girls with disabilities are met. By promoting empowerment, we create real opportunities for people. This enhances their capacities and supports them setting their own priorities. Empowerment involves investing in people through jobs, health, nutrition, education, and social protection. When vulnerable individuals are empowered, they are better prepared to seize opportunities, become agents of change, and embrace their civic responsibilities. My ministry, in collaboration with the National Disability Council and the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, will implement vocational rehabilitation measures to develop the skills and potentials of persons with disabilities, enabling them to compete effectively in productive and remunerative employment opportunities in the labor market. The chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, under the Family Strengthening Program, my ministry provides a monthly cash transfer of $1,000 to 859 orphans and vulnerable children, and 1,557 persons with disabilities. This program is designed to promote continuity and harmonization with other initiatives for vulnerable groups identified through the Gambia Social Registry nationwide. Beneficiaries include persons with disabilities, orphans, older persons, and female-headed households. The chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, in 2019, the Gambia underwent the Universal Periodic Review, UPR, wherein one recommendation was, and I quote, to step up efforts in the protection of persons with disabilities, unquote. The United Nations Partnership on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Multi-Partner Trust Fund, supported a multi-year 2021-2024 program in partnership with the UN in the Gambia and implemented by UNICEF and UNFPA under the leadership of the UN Resident Coordinator's Office. This program strengthened government capacity, particularly within my ministry, to implement the 2021 Persons with Disabilities Act. Through this initiative, necessary structures, processes, and tools were developed for effective protection and inclusive service delivery, aiming to eradicate all forms of violence and discrimination against persons with disabilities. I am pleased to inform this esteemed gathering that my ministry is working towards fulfilling its first statutory responsibility, and that is establishing the commencement and enforcement date for the Persons with Disabilities Act. Once gazetted, persons with disabilities will begin enjoying their fundamental human rights as enshrined in the law, free from any form of discrimination. Once again, I assure you of my continuous collaboration and support in our shared mission and vision to improve the quality of life of most of our vulnerable groups in the Gambia. I look forward to receiving the recommendations emanating from this meeting, and together with all of you, we will make sure that they are fully implemented to protect the well-being and rights of people with disabilities. I wish you fruitful deliberations, and I hereby declare this important forum officially open. Thank you so much.